Yeah, first I want to thank the fans. 8 o'clock game on a Wednesday. That's it's a big ask, and for that place to have as many students and fans in the seats was phenomenal. So I want to thank all them for coming out and obviously supporting this group. I talked to the tip-off club the other day, and I told them I was like, you guys might have to wake up a little bit later, take a nap throughout the day because this is past all of your bedtimes. So it was good to see a bunch of people in the seats because it obviously helped our guys, get excited about playing, and they brought a lot of energy. So I want to thank our fans, after obviously a tough loss on Sunday, to come out and support our guys. You know, um, we did what we were supposed to do. In a game that you're supposed to win by a large margin. I'm glad our guys were able to step up to the task and do it. They came out in a 1-3-1 zone, and I think if we've played, how many games we played this year? If we've played 5 games, in 4 games, teams have come out in defenses that they haven't run in like 2 or 3 years. So it's like they come out in a 1-3 run. I looked over at Ira and I just started laughing because it's just like, what the hell? Like, it's just every game it's something different. So didn't prepare for it, but we did a pretty good job of kind of settling in and attacking it as the game went on. Didn't shoot the ball great in the first half, but thought we did a pretty good job of cutting our turnovers down, and I think we had 12 or 14 assists in the first half. So 28 on the game, it's a positive, but when they're playing zone, it makes those passing lanes a little bit easier to get to. Um, you know, Defensively, just okay, not great. I thought we did a pretty good job in the first half of committing to our pressure defense for the first time all year, and it led to some turnovers, which got our lead up. And then I thought, we had 5 possessions where we really impacted ball screens, and they had turnovers on 4 of them, and the fifth one was Mech fouling. So, what was good to see us have some success in that area. I thought we did a little more dictating defensively, but then once we got a lead at 31, the first 8 minutes of the second half were even, and that's unacceptable. Told our guys that we had to spend these next 20 minutes getting better, and we didn't for the first 8. And then, I thought Blake came in and gave us a nice spark, off the bench and really got us going in the second half defensively. I think Blake leads the country in fouls committed in a 40-minute game. He's averaging 10 fouls per game, or 10. If he played 40 minutes, he'd foul 10 times, so he'd foul out twice. So it's pretty impressive. That probably beats my number when I was in college, and I used to hack the shit out of people. So, sorry, Kirk. But I challenged those guys this week. I said, listen, like, open audition for guys that want to play defense. And, I thought Blake got out there and guarded. Caden obviously 8 assists, 1 turnover, 2 steals. So had a couple mistakes defensively that he's got to clean up. But plus 27 when he was in the game, was good for his confidence. Simon obviously just going, crazy the last 7 minutes. I got to give him some crap though. He was 5 for 5 from 3 and only +1 in the plus minus. So he's got to do a better job of obviously, it may have been part of it was the group that he was in there with, but defensively, he's obviously still got to come along because he's coming back from that foot injury. And I realized that was the longest opening statement ever, so I'll give you guys some questions though.
Coach, what does it tell you about this team when you guys have been presented with a different, defensive plan that you thought you were going to have out there, but you had to adjust? What does it tell you about these guys and the way that they're able to learn and change in that moment?
Yeah, they've done a good job of just adapting and adjusting offensively to things. So that's a positive. I think, and you look at some of our closer games, like they don't panic, which is good. For such a young group, so far when you look at the Oklahoma State game, when you look at the Bethune-Cookman game, when you look at the Houston game, being down 7 or 8 points 4 different times and not panicking, I think that's a positive. That's something that we can really draw back to. And then obviously like you said, having a couple different defenses, for to start the game out and to be able to come out and just find ways to get into a rhythm and execute. So that's a positive. Still some things that we got to clean up on. Tahad goes 2 for 9 tonight and gets 9 really, really good looks. So loved every one of his 3 balls that he took. Thought they were all going in, and I know it's coming. I know he's going to just, he looked more like himself in the Houston game. But I think he's done a good job of not letting his offense dictate his defense. So, the guy's done a good job adjusting so far, but obviously it's going to ratchet up in a big way moving forward. So the defenses that we're going to see are going to look like Houston every single night. So we just got to be prepared for it.
Murph leads in points and rebounds in 20 minutes tonight. I know Jackson State was not a very big team at all, but just him looking this good on offense, considering the time he's missed, how pleased are y'all with how he's doing?
Yeah, more than anything, I'm just happy he's not hurt. Like that's my, when he's out there, I just, God, Tahad threw that lob to him, about lost my mind because it's just like you can't throw that and put him in that position. But 19 points, 7 rebounds in 19 minutes, and plus 28. It's phenomenal. So, really happy that Murph's, got a couple games under his belt and has played really well because we're going to need him. He's just such a versatile player offensively and defensively. Does a good job moving his feet. He had 3 steals tonight. Thought he did a good job impacting a couple of ball screens early in the first half. And, every one of his 3 balls looked like it was going in. Like, I had a great angle on all of them, and I thought all 3 of them were down. And so he's just got to keep shooting it with confidence. And then, his ability just to finish around the rim is just, at a really high level. I'm glad that he rebounded because the rest of our team didn't, which was really disappointing. To only out-rebound that team by 2 is pathetic, and it's just kind of embarrassing because that's the worst rebounding team in college basketball. And to only be +2 there, teams are going to look at that and, they're going to get excited. So we took a step back in that area while in the Houston game I thought we did a really good job, and obviously the games before that we did a good job. So, part of it was we only missed 23 shots. We shot 65%, so I can't be that big of a jerk, I guess. But we did, we still need. We had 7 offensive rebounds in the first half, right? We missed. Damn. I guess I got to take that back. We only missed 7 shots in the second half, so we only missed 7 shots in the second half. 74%. Yeah, it's okay. Well, if we miss 7 shots, we should get 4 of those rebounds back. So.
Stephen, Philip Jovic was one of the guys you mentioned that you wanted to step up with Keyshawn Hall. How'd you feel about him? And just 56 points in the paint seems pretty good.
Yeah, Philip. That's what I expect Philip to do. That's why we brought him here because he is incredibly quick on his feet. He's got a really quick first jump. He can finish through contact. I need Philip to do that every single night and be that aggressive every single night and just tackle the ball with 2 hands and just go up there and finish. Like that's what he did professionally for so long, and that's what he's got to do at this level. So, but he can't just do it against the Jackson States and the Merrimacks and the Woffords. He's got to do it against he's got to do it against Oregon and Michigan. Like Michigan's going to have 2 7-footers and a 7'4" guy. So it's like he's got to use the speed and quickness to his advantage. But that's what I expect Philip to do. Philip's got to give us more contributions, in the minutes that he's out there. I'm glad he got to play 23 minutes tonight. So it was good for him to have some success, to build up some confidence, because we're going to need him. We got to be able to rely on him because we need some depth in that front court, especially, when Key comes back and if he's not back, Philip's got to play a lot of minutes, and so will Mech. So I was happy that Philip saw some success tonight because we're going to need him moving forward. Points in the paint, 56 points in the paint. We talked about dominating, paint touches. So I thought our guys did a pretty good job in that area. We had a couple turnovers just by trying to force tough passes in there, so we didn't make the easy pass every time. But 56 points in the paint, that was kind of what we were expecting to do. And I'm glad our guys obviously paid attention to the scouting report. And we shot 32 threes, which is probably a touch too many, but when they're in zone, sometimes that's going to happen. That's a result of guys being in zone. But to shoot 40% from 3 is, a positive. So I thought our guys, for the most part, did a good job of getting it inside, playing off 2. It was great to see Elijah. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but his tempo when he would drive it was much better than the Houston game. He played off 2, was more patient, and didn't rush things and wasn't on the ground nearly as much. 5 assists, 1 turnover. So it was great to see him take some coaching and obviously make those adjustments. So 14, 6, and 5, and 2 steals. It's pretty good.
I know that was really tough for Simon to go through in the preseason right before practices started. Just what can you say about his rehab, his mindset through all that, and the type of player that you expect him to be this season?
Yeah, so Simon just attacks everything so aggressively, and whether it's his training or his rehab or his academics or, asking questions in practice, like he just, he's on it. And was really happy for him to obviously go out there and make 5 threes. I'm not going to count the bank, so he made 4. But the 4 he made were just, what part of the center of the rim did he hit? Because they were just really nice. So, guys that can make shots and sit down and defend are going to have a chance to play. And, I'm glad Blake obviously made a shot. He was, really relieved to do that. So, Simon's a specialist in that area, and he plays with a ton of confidence, So, it was great to see him have some success. I think for him, it's still just continuing to get back in game shape because he's been out for 2 months. So, yesterday was his first live action in 2 months, and that was on the scout team. So, it was great to get him a couple a rotation in there late. And, hopefully as he continues to get healthy and get his conditioning back. And, for him, it's just going to be about, can he sit down and guard defensively? I know he's able to make shots, right? But I got to challenge him to be one of our better defenders like he was this summer. And if he does that, he's going to have a chance to play.
Magwood, 8 assists tonight. Jovic obviously had the big game, and Simon hit those big shots at the end. Where's your confidence with the bench going into Las Vegas?
They got to show that against Oregon. Right, they got to show that against Michigan. We can't just show it against some of the lower level opponents that we have on our schedule. So they did what they're supposed to do tonight, and I hope that allows them the confidence to carry into the next game. But for me to have supreme confidence in those guys, I need them to do it in the bigger environments, the bigger games. So Oregon is going to be a great opportunity. This whole week's going to be a great opportunity for our bench to really show me what they're capable of. And I have a ton of confidence in them. But for me to have the confidence I need to play them in meaningful minutes in meaningful situations, they got to show me what they're able to do on Monday, because that's going to be the litmus test for our guys for our bench moving forward. And I told them, I was like, we need our bench. 3 games in 3 days is very taxing, and it's a lot on your starters. And there's going to be teams that are going to go out there and play 6, 7 guys, and they're going to play a lot of minutes. Like, we need to be able to play 8 or 9 guys in order for us to have our legs late in games to find ways to win. So excited for the guys. It's just a tremendous opportunity for those guys to go out there and show what they're capable of against really good teams.
With Mag, having those 8 assists, I know y'all played him and Tahad together for the first time, and how much did you like that, and how much did you like just Magwood, not necessarily just playing the one tonight and what he showed you there?
Yeah, 8 assists. A lot of that, I think 2 or 3 of them came off of the swings on the zone to Simon in the corner. So, some of that may have just been the defense, but he wasn't trying to make the difficult pass. He wasn't trying to throw the home run. He was throwing singles. He was throwing strikes, not balls. So that's good. That's something that he's gotten better at. But my whole thing with Caden is just like, he's got to be one of my best on-ball defenders in order for him to play more minutes. And we talked about that this week. Hopefully he takes it to heart, because we're about to play some really, really good guards in the coming games, and he's gonna have the opportunity to really show what he's capable of, because I don't care which one of them does it. I just need one of them to step up and show me what they're capable of. And I think they all did a little bit of everything tonight. Like Abdul, missed 3 open shots tonight, but he had 2 assists, no turnovers. And I know Abdul's beating himself up because he wants to shoot the ball better, because that's what he's capable of doing. So I still have confidence that he's going to make those shots. But for me, it's just if those guys can guard, and keep their man out of the paint, then that's value that I need for us to be able to trust those guards off the bench. Thanks, guys.